Hello, good morning. I'm excited. It is August the 4th, 2014. Yes, good. See, Lani's here. She's a smart one. And I'm so incredibly super excited to introduce her to y'all today on satalktoday.com that we are actually going to use this forum of SilverFox Studios to host an amazing show with an amazing woman who is like super duper uber smart. She's so smart. She even wears a cape. I mean, like, that is like super smart. Where is my cape? I need a cape. And I want to put bling on. No, but anyway, we're going to do a homeschool with Lani show, which is going to be super exciting because how many parents out there have always wanted to be able to homeschool their children, but they're like me. They try to look at all the books and curriculum, and then suddenly stars and planets and ducks and aliens all come out at once. And it's very confusing. And then I think, no, I better not leave it to me. I better leave it to the professionals because I want my son to learn. But sometimes there are issues in the schools, and sometimes there are issues at home, and then scheduling. And with the internet nowadays, there's really no reason not to at least work closer with your child. So whether you decide to homeschool or if you just want to use her show to help you work with your child more effectively at home, this show is going to be the show for you. So yay, Miss Lani in the house. I'm so thank you for coming. And thank you for agreeing to do the show, Homeschool with Lani. But so tell me about Lani.
About Lani? Or
Well, I know you own a daycare,
yes,
and I know
do.
you homeschool your own children.
Yes.
So I'm like, right there, you're already super duper uber qualified, overqualified, I should say. But I know you were going to school for curriculum, and I know you have a big history in this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've always, I guess, since I was younger, my mom's always worked in daycare. So I kind of just went along and did the same thing when I was in high school. I started working at a child care center. Actually, the child care center that I now own, I worked there in high school.
Wow.
With them, and there was an aunt and a niece, and I would take care of the room. I had little 2-year-olds at the time. Then I went to school. Yeah, the little babies.
Little baby toes. Okay, sorry.
I started going to school. When I was done, I decided that I didn't want to go into the school district. I tried it. I was doing my actual teacher, my teacher study, and I was going into the school, and I didn't like what I saw. I didn't like what I was learning, and then it didn't help that I got a teacher, several teachers that would be like, "This is my last year. I'm not going to do this anymore." And they were young, and they had just started. Some of them, like, it was only their 2nd year or 4th year, and I started watching what was going on, and I was like, okay, we got to switch. So I did. I was always in daycare. I was working for Bright Horizons at the time also. So while I was going to school, so I decided this is really just where I want to stay. Yeah, that's a big change. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and it was completely different from being in a small daycare center where I was coming from and going with them, because it was more like a school there too. It was more a full structure. I had an amazing curriculum advisor, and she would help me, and that's what she would always tell me, "Lani, you need to be in school." I was like, I don't think I want to.
Yes, we need you to.
Yeah, and so she was like, you're a good planner, and you set all this up and stuff, and she's like, you need to be in the school. But like I said, once I got there, I didn't have any kids. I didn't have my own kids at that time, so I was always taking care of other people's kids.
Very
and I always seemed like it was good there, and that's what I always told my husband. If we ever have kids, I'll teach them. I won't send them to school, especially after I was in there and I didn't like it. So.
And that's true. When I was very, very young, in my early 20s, actually teens, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a PE kindergarten teacher. I thought, how fun would that be? Like, to play with the babies all day and get paid like rock. So I enrolled in the teacher curriculum program my first year in college, and part of it was like teacher observance. So they don't leave you alone with the kids. You always have the credentialed teacher with you. But I'll never forget, I showed up just as eager and as excited. I was like 16, barely turning 17, just excited to start my whole new teacher life. And she looked at me and she says, "Your name is Jacqui?" And I was like, "Mm-hmm." And she was like, "Let me let you know something. I've been a teacher in this school for 18 years. I still drive the same ugly truck that I started in. She's like, I'm so fed up with the teachers and the administration. She goes, I love the kids. She goes, so I'm going to make it my job to be mean to you every time you come to work, to do your teacher observance for your class. And I was like, what? She goes, and nothing against you personally, but I'm trying to save you. And I was like, oh, thank you. And she was like, it's going to be my job to discourage you, because at that time, this was late 80s, those poor crack children were starting to come into the classrooms. And she recounted to me how she had had her first experience and had more after that, where suddenly their little bodies are just all wired up, and she had to put all the other children in the corner for safety and create barricades and try to wrestle with the child that's, you know, obviously out of control and by no means of his own doing. It's still heartbreaking, but it's scary for the other children. And she just felt like she didn't get any support from the parents at home, didn't get any support from the administration, and that there was so much competition that she just really made it her job to discourage me. So every Tuesday, Thursday, I show up from 9 to 11:15 or whatever my observing hours were supposed to be. And I would have a terrible stomach ache because I knew it was just going to be horrible. But I did, and she was right. I loved the kids. But she did send me to go make copies one day. She was like, here, let me let you go into the administration room. And I was like, all by myself? She's like, yeah, why don't you go make some copies? I was like, okay. I thought, copies, I could do this, right? First off, a copy machine in a school is not your normal copy machine. It looks like something from another planet, right? It's like huge, all these buttons, and yeah. So I walk in. So obviously I'm a little overtaken by all the technology. And so I'm like, hi, I'm Jacqui. I'm an intern from the school down the street. Can you help me make copies? And they're like, I was like, oh. And then one of them was kind enough, like, sure, put it here, do this, all right. And then it was like, thanks. And it was like talking to the back of their head, like, thanks. I was like, oh, okay. So I could feel like there was that negative vibe. And, you know, maybe they were also stressed out from, you know, the whole push for test scores and lack of, you know. And, you know, it wasn't like your grade A level 10 out of 10 kind of community, but it still was a nice community. But there was issues, and it was the 80s. So I remember that after I finished that semester, the last day, she was very sweet to me again. Like, she had almost looked at the first day, and she was like, oh, Jacqueline, you did so good. The kids loved you. Did I discourage you? Did I do my job? I was like, yes, ma'am. I'm going right now to my counselor, and I'm saying, I can't do this curriculum, you know. And she was like, good for you. Good job. Good luck. I was like, thank you. And I did, and I went. And then years later, I tried again to take more, because I really always loved children. I really always wanted to do something, and I wanted to be instructional nudges, you know, kissing their little necks and playing with their little toes. But then by then, I really started focusing more on the research of the exercise science and stuff. So that was a great journey for me. But I do applaud all teachers. I do think they do angels work. I do think the counselors do angels work, because it is such a diverse, you know, amount of children, all different backgrounds, all in one room that you have to corral. And I think it is distracting for the teacher, you know, with even the best curriculums. If you're doing more controlling behaviors, so, you know, Peggy doesn't eat Susie's hair or something, then you can't teach, you know, little Johnny who's ready to learn. So I see the challenges, and I know that the teachers, they just do the best. Bless their heart. Bless their heart. But with the internet and with all the access we have, I'm like, yeah, why not just try it, you know, see how it goes. And so tell me about, like, your curriculum plans for your new show, because I know we're going to do an hour and a half, right?
Yep. Okay. Well, we're going to do an hour homeschool, right? And then in half an hour just kind of, I guess.
For the older years?
Yeah, for the older years. The way I teach with my kids is we do themes. So everything goes on a theme, but then we cover all of our subjects within that theme. So right now they're just finishing up their space theme. Actually, we're already going to start our new theme. And I usually let them decide what they want to do, because if I'm picking it all the time, then they're going to be like, this is boring, I don't want to do this. So when I let them, they kind of decide on what they want to do. And right now they're really into the Eric Carle books. So I think that's what we're going to kind of build our theme around. And usually the way I do it is we pick a theme, And from there, I just start grabbing everything. I start grabbing math ideas, reading ideas, because of course we're going to read the books, but then at the same time, using all of his books and his characters to do math problems and to do stuff. So basically what you see in a book is kind of just like numbers and stuff. So then we'll just add his stuff in. So there's like one of his books is Brown Bear, what do you see?
Aww.
So, and he sees different animals. Well, they talk about different animals that each animal sees. And then at the end, it's the children that are looking at all the animals. So we kind of will go from there, like, well, how many bears do you see, and counting. And like I said, right now my daughter's going into 3rd grade, so we're going to start grouping them to do getting her ready for the multiplication and stuff. So where my son is still doing like just larger numbers, so it'll be using his numbers. And
so that first hour is going to be pre-K through 4th.
Yeah. Pre-K to 4th would be good.
Is that doable? Like,
yeah.
So there are mommies at home or families at home who want to homeschool, but they have multiple children.
Yeah.
So you may have a pre-K and you may have a high schooler,
yeah.
you know, and so this show will at some point address everybody in there. But the first thing is, I think, you get the little ones busy.
Yeah.
So you can help the older ones.
Yeah, because the older ones, they're not going to want to read Brown Bear.
I would love to read Brown Bear.
I do, but there's some, they're an older curriculum, it's pretty easy also, because you just want, once they know how to read, they could kind of figure everything out on their own and stuff, and they just need their parent there for guidance, because most workbooks will tell you exactly what to do, give you an example, and then tell you to do it. And if there's any problems, well, then that's when you really need your parent to tell them, okay, now you tell me. Because some kids are like that. They can't just, some kids can just read it and they don't need you to tell them. And other kids are like, I need you to show me. Like, show me a couple of times before I pick it up. Yeah.
That's
so,
I need
yeah,
you to
they're
show
all different
me,
kinds.
let me touch it, let me try it, let me see, and then maybe we'll get that.
And that's why I teach my little ones that way. I teach them always with looking at something before they go on, and I think they'll end up having to be like that for the rest of their life now.
But it's good to always ask why and how come, and let me try it, versus just, you know, taking in the information, accepting it for truth, you know. And that's what one college professor told us. He's like, if you don't learn anything else in college, he's like, learn how to ask why. Yeah. And be inquisitive. And so that's always stuck with me. And that's the thing is, when I was little, my mom taught me how to read, write, and I had my own library card because I could fill out the application when I was like 3 years old. And that was like her huge claim to fame. She had a 3-year-old who could do this stuff, right? And go pick out books. And sometimes I'd pick them out based on colors. I'd be like, oh, it's a pretty purple color. And it has a piano on it. I must want to read it. But then I'd open up all these. I was like, whoa. I was like, oh, yeah, just keep that one on top.
You're like Sally.
Yeah. And then other books I actually picked because I could read them and I wanted to read them. And I wanted to show off that I knew how to read, right, from my mom. And that was back when the San Antonio Library used to be on the Riverwalk. Do you remember that?
Nope.
No, that's how old I am, girl. And now it's like the International Multicultural Business Center, and they've completely revamped it and moved it to the big red enchilada now. But back then, it was right on the river, so we would have this beautiful window, like floor-to-ceiling window, where we could sit in the beanbags overlooking the river, and we could have reading time. And that was so sweet. And so my mom really made it a point to like get that in my brain. But multiplication was really hard. I can remember we would sit outside at the table with my little neighbor, Jennifer, and my mom would be there. Okay, now think about this. And I was like, really? Can I have a popsicle? And she was like, stay on track, stay on track. So how do you encourage parents who do have those kids like me that are like, when something is challenging in front of them, and they want to just go get a popsicle out of the refrigerator and take 20 minutes to get it instead of just come back and keep working? How do you keep their focus?
I teach a lot with games. My whole idea of teaching has always been, if they're playing, they're learning. And that's what we do. And that's what I think right now she is. Marcelli, my daughter, has a really hard time with numbers, where Michael, my son, who's younger than her, can pick it up quick. Like, it's count by twos, okay. Count by fives, okay. And he's looking at, they're both looking at a chart, and he's like, yeah, it's 2, 4, 6, you know, and she's like 2, 4, 6, you know, she's still counting that other number silently so she could go to the next. So she has a hard time. So it's like making games with everything. It's like, okay, well, we're going to play a game then. And you're going to have to count by twos to get your little person across the board. And she's like, okay. So she's still probably doing that little silent number, but at the same time, she's going to pick it up eventually because she'll go.
In the rhythm.
Yeah, and stuff.
Cool.
So everything that I do with them or whenever I hand them stuff, it's all with games. Like I could give her a whole bunch of numbers in twos and then tell her, okay, put them in order. So she's going to look for all the numbers. So she's going to go 2. Okay, well, what's the next number? It's not 3 because there's no 3, so I'll look for 4 and stuff. So, and it's just kind of stuff like that. And I think that's how they learn.
Yeah, I definitely believe they learn when they're having fun.
Yeah, because it's a game. It's just
and
like,
that's
okay.
why you wear the cape. Because if we're not having fun, we're not doing it right.
Yeah, we're not doing it right. Yeah,
Something
exactly.
is wrong. If you are not having fun, you are not doing life right. Because we got to make fun, because that's what we're here to do. Yeah. But that's the thing is, so it sounds like a challenge if you have a child who's already catching it, and then if they get a little slower at it. Is there really something to the girls? Like my little boy is really good at math and science already. And I'm more like, can we paint things that are pink and play dolls? And he's like, oh, Mom. And I'm just like, what? I'm trying. I'm like, all right, fine. Can my little doll ride the race car then? Because that's pretty fun. And so I try to, like, not fem him out with all that as far as, giving him exposure to everything. But it just sounds like, if I was taking homeschool with my own son, he'd probably be beating me in the math and science classes already. And so, keeping me in focus. Do you ever have like issues at the daycare where you're teaching a lesson and someone just gets like, oh, I'm never going to get this? Yeah,
they do. And with daycare, I know it's a lot different. And from school and homeschool, it's kind of like being at the daycare. So we're doing circle time, and you have that one that's like, okay, I already did my ABCs, I'm done. Like, but now we're gonna do them in sign language, and it's just like, okay, so they're just, and it's like, okay, they can go up. And my mom doesn't really like that way of me teaching, like where I'm like, okay, like you're done, go ahead and go. Because you have the kids that really do want to learn, and she's like, but they're gonna have to learn to sit down because when they go to school, and I understand that, but right now they're 2 and 3, and I'm like, they want to go play. I was like, leave it to 10 minutes and stuff, and that's what we kind of do when I homeschool also. If Mikey's getting it because he knows it and he's having fun because he's like, I'm on a roll, and Marceli's like, I just can't do this, I can't, like, and stuff, it's just like, okay, like, you'll take your time then and stuff. And I don't force them because we have all day. And tomorrow's another day. That's what I always tell them. Tomorrow's another day. And we'll get it. If we're lucky. Amen, amen. Yeah. If we're lucky. Tomorrow is another day. And then sometimes you wake up and you just get it. Yeah. Because something happened overnight. I know especially in my brain, sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, that's what that is. Yeah. And that's so exciting when the bell finally goes off or the light goes on. And you could see it with her too, because when she does get it, she's like, oh, like I did it on my own, Mama, or I did it. And see, she's really good when it comes to words and reading and stuff. And I think girls are more like that. She likes to sit there and write and like color pretty pictures. Yeah, that was me. Definitely. Practice on her handwriting sometimes because I tell her like she has to have better penmanship. So she'll be there, and Mikey's like, he's better, and she'll always say that he's better at the math than I am. And stuff, but so I'm like, recognize it. Yeah, they know. That's what I heard recently too. Of course, it was on Facebook, so it must be true. But I do remember somebody wrote on one of my posts saying, like, did you know that they're not even teaching cursive anymore in school, and they're taking out the music and I know that PE and music, art has always been a struggle to like get in there. But cursive, I was quite like, wow. I was like, that's amazing. And I guess because everybody's just and stuff, and that was one of my problems when my daughter first started. Of course, when you're little, when we're in daycare and we're teaching them, we're taught, give them the small little hands-on things to do, because then it helps them when they're getting ready to write. It helps them when they're getting ready to use scissors. Finger dexterity. Yeah, so their small motor skills is what it is. So let them play with the little Legos, because then they have to build, and we would do that. Girls have better penmanship because they play with Barbies, so to put on their little clothes and stuff like that. Boys, if you want them to have better penmanship, give them the little Legos so that they can start building and holding them together and stuff. So a lot of times when, like now with the new 3-year-old programs, if they're not providing them with those things because everything is structured like kind of like a classroom, then they're missing out still on those little things. But at the same time, everybody has games like at an early age, and everybody has iPads, and like
my son has one of those things. He almost knocked my head off today. It's like flies in the house and has red beady eyes, and it looks like a huge mosquito. I'm like, Papa, what is that thing? Don't let it hit me, you know. But he is a master at that. But when I try to sit him down and say, okay, Papa, let's work on our ABCs, work on your penmanship, that's a struggle.
Yeah.
And you know, he's like, oh, you know, it's not exciting, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, uh-oh. So we have chalks for him and things to write with, but it's not like me. You're right. And I was little. You could put me in a corner with a book and a baby doll, and I was good. I had my baby doll, I had my book, and that was it. If my son, there's no way I'm putting him in a corner with even cars or books about cars. You know, now books about activities about making cars. He'll read that. He likes that. He'll be like, Mommy, read that one to me. So that's interesting to me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're reading a craft book, like supplies you will need. But I'm just excited that he's asking me to read him something he's interested in. So my son, you know, we were very blessed. We moved into a great district. But it was very hard for me to take him to school every day. I have to say, last year had to be like the hardest year of my whole entire life. And I've had some hard years. I've survived some things. But it was every day, like I just bawled like a baby until, you know, it kind of wore off. They had this thing called tissues and tea for all the new mommies. And I went with my husband, and it was really funny because, you know, the PTA, they went, and my husband was like, oh, we got to go to a PTA meeting first thing in the morning. And he hadn't had breakfast. And I've been bawling for the whole weekend prior that he was going. He's like, are you so serious? He's like, we are so lucky that he can go to a great school. And you're sitting here bawling like we're sending him away. And I'm all like, I hate me, and you don't understand. And so we take him, and then, you know, we leave him off, and I'm trying to be like just as composed as possible, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a great day, okay. And then I turn around, I'm just like, wah! And then so he takes me upstairs to the tissues and tea thing in the library, and my husband, you know, he's doing the husbandly thing, the daddy thing, you know, supportive, but you can hear his stomach rumble. And then all of a sudden we sit down at these tables, and they have tissues at every table. And so I sit just at the first one I see, and my husband's sitting there, and he's like, you know, it's okay, it's okay. And then all of a sudden the PTA brought in like Las Palapas food, you know, tacos, and then they brought in Starbucks coffee, donuts, and I was like, I love PTA meetings. Where do we sign up to be part of this PTA community? They are down. I was just like, you know, I couldn't even breathe. I was like, whatever, you know. And he's like, you want coffee? I'm like, oh, yes. And so he goes and he gets his food or whatever, and he's like, this is really, I'm like, oh. And other moms are starting to sit, and some of them are like, they have multiple children, so maybe it's only their second kid or, you know, third kid. So they go, and I guess they go just to make friends and see their friends after the summer more than to actually bawl and like get therapy there at the table in front of all the PTA. And I'll never forget, because the lady, the principal, like, she does this beautiful speech, how your babies are our babies, and, you know, we're just going to love them and teach them the best, you know, we can, and we love that you're a part of it. And, you know, I'm still trying to catch my breath. And then they say, okay, let's go around the room, and everybody introduce themselves and say, like, who their child is and what grade, right? So they come to me, and I'm just like, my husband says, would you like me to speak? I'm like, And so he's like, hi, you know, I'm Albert Hill. He's like, this is my wife, Jacqi. He's like, this will probably be the only time you ever hear from me, because my wife usually does all the speaking. He's like, but obviously you can see she's a little emotional today. It's our little boy, and we only have one, and, you know, and he's never really been away all day. And I'm just like, oh. And then finally they go around, and one of the mothers is like, I need a tissue, and I just pull one and I give it to her. And I'm like, I need the box. I'm having an emotional day already. I was like, I can't just. The polite thing is to hand them the box. Or push it. No, I was just like, mine. I was like, you can have all the tacos you want, honey. Just give me the tissues. I'm having a moment. And it was. Every day it was so hard. And I'll never forget. I even put this on my Facebook. I had left the baby. Well, my baby in the class, and I was standing kind of like by the bathrooms, so I could see his room, but I wasn't like trying to stalk, like my face pressed up against the window, like I really wanted to. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna be cool about this. I'm just gonna stand there, just make sure everybody gets it, and the bell goes, and then I can leave. So I'm standing there, and I'm just kind of like peeping inside, and I can see him doing his little thing, and then all of a sudden, one of the fathers comes and kisses his daughter goodbye, and he turns around and he goes, it's just so hard to say goodbye sometimes. I was like, yes, it is. Oh, my God. And he just looked at me like, oh, my gosh, I just set this woman off. Here she was trying to compose herself, and he just looked at me. I was like, wow. And then after that, the whole year, he was like afraid to make eye contact. Bless his heart. I'm really not crazy. I was just really emotional. But it was so hard because I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I was like, where is like the military militia? Like, why are they not surrounding the school to protect my son? And of course, I'm very spiritual. I believe in the blood, and I'm protecting the angels are going to watch everybody every day. But it is. It's just nerve-wracking for them to be apart from your body, and you're just like, what?
All day.
It was really tough. So I'm so excited about this program because I'm still on the fence. School's awesome, and I was supposed to make like a tour or something, and I was like, it's my birthday, I can't be going. I can't think about that. And of course, Lisa, our beloved Lisa, is about to be a grandma like any minute now. She was like, Jacqui, it's really okay. And I'm like, you don't understand. I was just like, oh my gosh. So I'm on the fence. And so I'm like, you know what? We got this really cool program that we're going to be having here. I can just bring the baby to work. He can sit there. And now my baby, though, will be barely going into first. Yeah. And your babies are going into
second and third.
Okay, so it's kind of more stair-step. So if you have a child, or if you know of a child or a family that wants help working with that age group, and since we're on the internet, y'all can always log on anytime to watch it. It's not like you have to be there at 5 o'clock or whatever time. But you can, see Lani and see how she shows, and then you'll get first-hand experience. It'll be live, the theater of the living, actually, because 3 little ones. Yeah. And that doesn't frighten you?
No,
that's where the cape comes in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. Yeah, because we deal with a whole bunch of little ones all the time. So, yeah, I think it's just managing them and then being able to explain what I'm doing. That will be the challenge, but we can do it. We can do it.
Yeah.
They're old enough to understand.
And it'll be set like, not like this, not like a talk thing, but rather it'll be set up like with a table, like something you'd probably do at home at your own kitchen table. Yeah. So, and now there's a lot of resources you use from a lot of different places. Yeah. So you make your own stuff, but then you also take stuff out of other people. So tell me about that.
A lot of time I just look, I have certain places that I look up, are certain people that I follow, their blogs and stuff, and see what they're doing. And I'll grab from them, and then I make it my own sometimes, because sometimes the way I see it on theirs, I'm like, yeah, but my kid won't do it like that. They'll do it this way and stuff. So I kind of just grab and do. I also use a lot of the curriculum books. I'll buy the curriculum book, and then I set it up, and I'm like, okay, when I teach this, but I'll do it like this.
Right.
And stuff. So I'm always just kind of switching stuff around. And there's a homeschool book that I do use that has different websites, like I said, that I always go back and look into. But we'll be posting those up. Yeah, posting those up too.
So you get stuff from like Barnes & Nobles, Half Price Books, where else?
Mostly those two. My kids love Barnes & Nobles, so we're always at every Barnes & Nobles in San Antonio.
It's like the rock star place for you guys. You're like, this is like our rock star place.
Yeah, and we go, and they know when we're driving down a certain way, they're like, are we going to the bookstore at La Cantera? And or they're like, are we going to the bookstore by our house? Because they know that the one that's by us, and they're like, are we going to go over here or over there? They know the expressways already. They know that they know which one leads to what bookstore.
Every road leads to a bookstore.
Yeah,
somehow.
So they know that. So, yeah, we use Barnes & Nobles a lot. Books A Million, Half Price Books, we've gone. But, of course, they love Barnes & Nobles just because it has that kids section where they like to go and play, and all the books are there for them. And the teacher resource books are, like, right next to there. So while they're in there doing their thing, I'm out here, like, looking at
So the
her
Barnes
stuff.
and Nobles, I know I love Barnes and Nobles, but I cannot buy every book I ever loved in there because I would not have a home or food. I would just be like, I'll eat my books.
Yeah.
But there's other resources, that are a little more economical, we could say.
And they're free.
So is that like the Lakeshore Learning or the little private stores?
Yeah, there's little private stores and there's Lakeshore and stuff. And same thing with Lakeshore. Sometimes I go into a store and I like a game and then I turn it around and it's $50 and I look at it and I'm like, I can make this. And my husband's like, you can always make it. He's like, just buy it. And I'm like, no, I can make this.
You're like, this is easy. This is gonna take an
you
hour.
see what it does? Yeah, I can do this and stuff. I'm like, give me your phone. Let me take a picture.
Yeah.
So I can see what I'm gonna do later and stuff. So yeah, a lot. Like I said, you can always whatever you see or whatever. The good thing about Barnes and Nobles is that you can sit there and look at the book and just kind of take your notes and stuff. They also have it's a teacher card, but they have one for homeschoolers also.
Homeschool cards, I love it.
Yeah,
now,
you can do
is it my imagination, or did they start taking out some of the nice fluffier seats?
I think they did because there's less places to sit, but I'm a floor person anyway, so I always go and I sit on the floor.
So stretchy pants.
Yeah.
Wear your loose jeans and your stretchy pants. You're going.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Some of them did. Some of them really did start taking them out.
Just too many loiters like me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do that too. I'm always there looking, and the good thing is that their Nook. When you go to a Barnes and Nobles, you have 1 hour free on the Nook with any book that you want. So it's kind of.
Now, what's the Nook?
The Nook is it's by Barnes and Nobles. It's like a what is it? Like a notebook. So
like a tablet?
Like a tablet.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the word. There you go. Like a tablet. Yeah. So, but it's made by Barnes and Noble. So it does everything else. You log onto the internet and everything. But when you go into Barnes and Noble, you have a library in there. So instead of buying the book, you can actually read it on your Nook, and it does an hour for free. And
that's
the kids love
really
to do
good.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm still learning technology.
Yeah, so am I. So am I. So the kids love it because they, on their books, they have an option to read it by themselves or have it read to them. And on each of the books for the kids, it has activities. So there's like a little, there'll be a little arrow or a little green thing that comes up. And if they push it, there's an activity that goes with the book. And it teaches them in there as well.
There's just so many resources, and someone, obviously this is your passion, which I'm so blessed, like that you're like my teaching angel. I always say everybody's an angel of mine somehow. And so that's your passion. So you love it. You seek out these opportunities. But my passion is kind of just doing all these venture capitalist business things. I'm like in everything. At some point, I've done it. What do you need? Life insurance? You need what? What do you need? I can do it. Trust me, I can do it. So for me, I guess you could call me a little ADD on that side of my brain. But for me to go out there and search for that, I don't know that I would feel as empowered by it. I'd probably feel more overwhelmed by it. So that's why I am like super, uber, duper, uber excited about your show, because it is so empowering that somebody who loves it, somebody you can just dial in, you can just have your laptop right there at the kitchen table. Like if this was your table, you can just put the laptop right there, and then you can be following along with Lani and the kids as you're working with your own children. So now tell me, how do we get the kids that are littler, like ours, to get into their thing so that you can actually help those parents or those caretakers at home who have older kids? Because sometimes the older kids, nowadays, there's just so many more issues, and depending on which district you're in, sometimes it's just, they want to keep them at home, but they want them to still get an education. So how do we keep these kids entertained enough not to be jumping into the time with the older?
I'll probably set up a game for them so that they can kind of, and see, the good thing with having the multi-group is that Marceli, who's the oldest one out of the group, she likes to teach, so she likes to be in charge. So
I used to love to play teacher.
Yeah, and she does too. So if I tell her you're in charge, she'll be like, okay, like I'm in charge.
I got this.
Yeah,
as women power. It's all about women power. It is.
And she will. She loves to be
She'll
the
take
one
the
that
lead.
will, the one. And a lot of times she reads to her brother, so she'll sit there and do it. And she explains everything to him, because he could be watching something and he's like, what does that mean? And I'll say it and he's like, Sally? Like he looks for confirmation from her. Like,
Like
is
the
that
Cellupedia.
right? Yeah, is that right? Did mom say that right? Or
I love that. See, my kid's an only kid, so it's either me, Mimosa, or Gucci, or Daddy, or Uncle Tone, or somebody has to, so he doesn't have that little interaction. And that's what's like my mom, she's like, what? Homeschool? You're not going to let them go to school with kids? And I'm all like, have you seen the kids? I mean, I love all kids. But sometimes I think what happens is kids who aren't loved at home, they go to school to get love. And kids who are loved at home go to school to learn. And so sometimes the teacher is there trying to, like, those who are trying to act out, to get that attention, to feel that love, are just distracting from the others. And I'm all like, if you're going to ignore my kid to take care of this other kid, well, if you're going to ignore him, then just leave him with me, because I can do that job, I won't ignore him, or I'll be like, Papa, stop, blah, 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 but I want to have a concerted time. So the older kids is more research.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that work for them?
For them, I'll probably just give them already, because if they don't have the time, because a lot of times when they're older in the state of Texas, because every state is different. Like I told you, everybody has different laws and different rules that you can do. But in the state of Texas, you don't have to be home to homeschool your kid. So if you work all day and you have someone to take care of your child, but you're going to homeschool them in the evening, that's okay, because they're not setting a set amount of days or hours that you have to homeschool. But that is here in Texas. So with your older kids, like I said, when they're older, it's a lot easier, because they don't, they already know how to read, so they don't need to be told what they're going to do. So let's say they're with grandma all day. You give them their work, they can read what they have to read, and then when you come home in the evening, you're able to do stuff. So if you don't have the time, or like you said, like you can't focus enough I can't look up all this stuff, it's too much. I'll have all those resources ready.
Awesome.
So
see, Lani's angel. Actually, Supergirl. That's why she doesn't wear wings. She wears a cape. But it's all the same thing.
It's all the same.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want to give your child the best, and sometimes they do. So maybe they still go to school, but they just come home and they just need that extra reinforcement. And and I think any extra time that we spend bonding with our kids through games or education, I mean, it's never a waste of time, that's like the most precious, in my mind, the most precious time I can. But, having that structure, having you to help me structure that for when him and I are at home will make that time so much nicer. Because I won't get frustrated, and then he won't get frustrated, and we won't just go kapow and then just have to go to have pizza and makeup again. Because it can be overwhelming for the parent too, especially if they have been working all day. And their brain is on all those numbers or whatever it is that you do all day, and then you come home and you're like, okay, I really want to do this, but I can't swipe it. So they'll have curriculum. We'll have it on the page as well. Right now, we're actually setting up the homeschool with Lani on live stream, and then we'll also be doing, I believe, a YouTube with it. Okay. So we're still working it out, but we're starting to tape that this week. Tomorrow I'm on the Big Bird. Yeah, gotta go. Gotta just lay on the beach and decompress and remember who I am. I was like, I saw this thing on Facebook. It's like, I'm losing my mind, but as long as I know when to go tinkle, I'll be okay. And I thought, sometimes I might, no. I thought, wow. I was like, yeah, that's how I kind of feel, because we've just been doing all this. But, in this opportunity to buy this studio, I was like, I really want to have quality programming, and I just don't think that I can go wrong with having you in here and having all those children help and kids that are bigger, not necessarily little bitty ones, and the moms and the families. And it actually will help the teacher's job, I think, too, if they still attend regular school, because then that student will have that extra. And it'll be an hour and a half. But you don't have to stay on for the whole hour and a half, right? Because what if your kid's just older? You can just log in a little bit. You can fast forward through it or something. Is that right? Yeah. And then, so when you send them for research things, like, do you send them to, like, the medical center library? Do you send them to the regular library? What kind of research do you think is, useful in...
A lot of it is really on the web, so it'll be easy access. And like I said, there's so many websites out there that are curriculum ready, and there's a lot of different places that will tell you, like, just go look up this website, and they'll have all the information you need to do that particular thing and stuff. A lot of stuff I do also is on Pinterest. So I find a lot of ideas. There's a lot of teachers on there who they put up their stuff, and they have whole units and setups and stuff like that too. The way they set up their rooms and stuff like that. So
I love teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers really work so hard, and I know they give 1,010%. I know that there's just so many little ones pulling at them, and then the adults in different groups pulling at them. It's just really amazing. I think teachers should be paid like rock stars and pro sports people, because I mean, how much more inspiring is it to have your teacher who's just there to inspire you?
Yeah, they do. And like I said, for them to sit there, and their job is really never done, because they work all day and then they go home and then they set up their kids' curriculums, and they ideas for decorating their rooms, and then they have to go and buy everything on their own. The school district doesn't say like, oh, you want a nice room? Okay, here you go. So whatever they want, they have to go out and buy and fix and do and stuff. That's why I think sometimes they get really frustrated when a kid just comes in and just starts tearing out.
Yes.
Like, I just worked all night on that.
Yes. Oh my. Now there is a certain deduction they get though, up to a certain point.
Up to a certain point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a little helpful, but not helpful enough, because our kids are our tomorrows. Our kids are our future. So if our kids are getting that quality instruction and getting that attention, but that's the thing is that it just seems like in certain districts it's just so many, and there's so much need that, and then now with all this other influx coming in, there's just going to be more and more need. So I'm super, did I already say, I'm like super duper uber excited about it, because I know that, once you're in there and doing it, y'all can just have that laptop right there next to you. It's like Lani is going to hold your hand basically and just be like, do this with them. Say this.
Yeah.
Watch me and repeat.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we could do it, yeah.
And that's what I need as a mommy.
To do, and like I said, I have a whole bunch of different ideas and tips also that will make it like cost effective, because I know a lot of people are like, I just can't afford all the books like you said and stuff. So it'll be easy and stuff. And like I know I've told you sometimes that we use sheet protectors, so that way we could reuse everything that we do. So
and they sell those usually like at the dollar store, which is my favorite other place to shop. Like, oh, I feel so rich when I walk into the Dollar Tree. I'm like, yes. My little boy's like, can I have a toy? You can have 2, Papa. Okay, 2 here. Yeah, that's mommy. I'm like, but I need a kiss, because I always try to bargain for a kiss. Yeah. Always. Yeah. I'm like, I need a hug or I need a kiss. Something. Mommy needs some love. So that's awesome, things like that. But the whole thing is, too, is now tell us about some of the older students that you've worked with, I think, in your family or at the daycare, that they've had some issues, but then they really championed the education part and went back.
They do. They always get the education back and stuff. So they're really smart. A lot of the kids everywhere, they're really smart. It's just that sometimes school isn't for them, and it could just be the time, or it could just be someone there and stuff, and that's what's holding them back, or that's what's making them feel that they don't want to be there.
Yeah, you know what? I had to have my little boy in at 7:35, and like I guess the tardy bell was 7:45, so I would like 7:44 in like 59 seconds and be like, I made it, I'm here. My baby knows what the morning jog is.
Yeah, because
he knows that I'm like, okay, Papa, jump out. Okay, I got you, Papa. Let's go, morning jog, and he's laughing the whole time, and I'm like, oh, please don't call the bad people on me, because I'm always having, trying not to get too many tardies for my kid. He's little, it's not his fault, you know. So I actually, when we were looking for a house, I was like, is there any school district that might start at 9 o'clock? I was like, I will pay a premium to live in that school district, just so it just seems so cruel to wake up a child at, like 6:30, 6:15, and just
get them started.
Yeah, and like, okay, we're getting excited, and they're just like, what? And I would do. I mean, we had a point last year where my husband was able to stay home in the evenings to where he could get him, read to, shower, bed, and bathe and bath kind of thing by 7 o'clock. And even waking him up at 6:15, 6:30, oh my gosh, it was like his little body was like this rock. Yeah. And I'd be like, Bubba, please get up, please get up, please. And then, finally, but I get the whole discipline thing. I just think, really, 7:35, really?
Were they giving them breakfast? That's why they wanted them there early?
Well, they wanted them to sit in like a line or something.
Oh,
I don't know. They wanted to instill some discipline. Obviously, I don't have a lot, so I was just like, why do you want my kid to come and sit here for 10 minutes in a line away from me, mommy, who loves him more than everything and anything in the world, and then you're just gonna. So I did it a few times, like the first few weeks, as I stood in the back and like bawled, but not where he could see me. But then I was just like, really? Because he's not learning anything, just sitting there.
Yeah.
And they're all the kids are like, super sleepy, and that's not constructive. So I was like, I'm going to slide in at 7:44 and 59 seconds, because that's when the learning starts. When the teacher says, okay, sit down, get out your book, let's start going over this, that, or the other. That's quality education. Okay, I'll leave him for quality education.
Yeah.
But just to sit there to learn how to sit in a line, well, we do that when we go to Walmart. We stand in long lines. He knows how to stand in a line.
Yeah.
I got that part covered. That part's covered. I don't need help with that part. So it would be really hard, And then with all the violence thing, and of course, everybody on Facebook was like, oh, well, some of my family on Facebook was like, you're just taking this too hard. You're feeding the fear. And I'm like, sorry, I only got one. Do you know it took me like over 29 hours to get that baby out of and 9 months prior, I was like, I'm not leaving anything to chance. I was like, I'm going to swarm the school myself. So what I did was, when there was a particular day where they found, ammunition kind of thing, and of course it was down the street, very, probably about 30, 40 minutes away from me, but that was still too close.
Yeah.
I went and I tried to like make myself, look natural, because I'd just been bawling forever. And I went and I volunteered in that little teacher workroom, and the other people, they just kept looking at me because they didn't know why I was like all puffy and everything, because they didn't know that I cry. I'm a big llorona. So I cry. I just cried. I was just like, I don't want to leave my baby. And then there was that one day when it was like, okay, you take him or you don't kind of thing. And I was like, I choose not to take my baby. Yeah. It was like, he's in kindergarten, and if you're going to keep him out of Harvard just because he missed a day because there was like a threat, then so be it. Yeah, those are the challenges, I think, that I don't remember being a little kid and my mom having to worry about that. I mean, you always have that bully, and you always have that one kid that acts out, but I think it's just escalated just the exterior fear. And now that I'm mommy and I know what it took to get that, baby into this world, I'm like, oh no, I'm not excited. I'm gonna swarm and kind of be like that little bee. But my baby had the nicest teacher. She was very sweet, and I knew she knew her curriculum. I knew she knew her stuff. But I also feel like there was just so many that it's hard just to watch the social dynamics. Yeah. And, even me being in there and being hypersensitive to it when I would volunteer, because, I was always trying to, like, sneak in around and check in through the window, or I was, like, trying to linger afterwards. When I'd get in there, I would see certain social dynamics that just kind of bugged me, but I could see that she was focused on doing what she had to do, and, for the good of all the children. Yeah. But part of me was just like, hey, we got this issue here. I don't know if I like all this. Like, somebody needs to come in here and say, like, that's not nice. We don't talk like that to other kids. But you're just so busy doing your job, basically. And that's not a bad thing. But it is hard to catch that. And so, JR and I, we survived the first year. But I just feel like you say, when the kids are having fun, information is absorbed. Yeah. When kids are stressed out, I don't care if you have like the best instructor in front of you, they're just too stressed to absorb it. Yeah. And I used to attend this thing called CEO Space, and I still want to go back again. I loved it. And the inventor, Bernie Dorman, he runs this whole CEO Space, and he invented some kind of thing that they're using in I believe it's the University of Alabama, where they put these screens up in a classroom. So you have all the students come in, and you have the instructor. So behind the instructor is a screen, and then there's like 5 screens. But there's flashing images of like nature, like waterfall, sunrise, sunset kind of thing, and it's intermittent with other screens. It's like the lesson plan is popping up. And then on some screens, it's like a video. And so the people, like, say the student is getting distracted and they look away, they could look over at one of the screens and they could see themselves sitting in class. Yeah. Or if they got distracted and looked away from the teacher, they could look away and see the curriculum. Or if they got distracted and looked away, they could see a nice, pleasant waterfall, something that relaxed the brain. Yeah. Or by them seeing themselves on the screen, caused attention to make them, oh, people are watching. I gotta sit up. I gotta pay attention. And I love that invention of his. And I know it just got patented like a year or 2 ago. after being in the system for a while of the USPTO, but I just thought, how brilliant. And I thought, what if we just converted our studio into something like amazing like that? But you know, just for one person, I don't know, it's kind of overkill. But I love your concept of if they're having fun and they're relaxed and they're learning a lesson, they're going to absorb it and they're going to apply it in real life. So it's learn and then application, right? And then repeat.
Yeah,
and so
we
that's
do a lot of
what you
repeat. Yeah, we do a lot of repeat because whatever I do during the day, we'll do it again in the evening when their dad comes home, because he'll ask them, like, what did you learn today? And they'll tell them. And if they're not really sure, they're just like, I think, well, we kind of did. And he's like, well, let's go look at what you did, and then you show me again and stuff. And that's why I love to use the sheet protectors, because a lot of times if it's workbooks and they got it all wrong, well, they could just erase it, and it's like no big deal. Okay, we'll do it again until we get it. And
so it's earth friendly too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Earth friendly. Yeah.
All my friends know I don't waste anything.
She's like, what is that? We can use it again.
Yeah, we don't waste paper. We don't waste anything. We're just always reusing. Or if we're cutting something out, it's like, save that because we can use it later.
Yeah, you can use the shred for confetti for a birthday party.
Yeah, we use all kinds of things. My daughter loves to do art, so she's always saving all the scraps, and she's always cutting them up and using them for different stuff. So yeah, we don't waste.
I love it. I love that. And you know, that's the thing, is teaching about that whole recycling and conservatism with our resources is another awesome thing. So you're definitely gonna have to go on. So now we still we're gonna start filming tomorrow, and then do we have an email already set up for you to be able to receive, like if people want to correspond with you, or we can set that up?
We could set that up.
Okay, so we'll set something up so this way if you have like a direct question for Lani, you can email her. And of course we can't promise, I mean, if she gets like 1,000 emails, that she can get to everybody's email right away. But she will, you know, try to address if, you know, parents want to log on and interact, and then we can set up a Facebook page so that this way also, you know, you can chart your own kids' progress kind of thing. Yeah. I'm excited. So what do you think is going to be like the first thing? Because you just got over space. So is your whole house like full of space balls and planets everywhere?
No, just our little section. I use a lot of charts, and we had just pulled down all the charts. Right now my house is kind of a mess. Their homeschool area, I took everything off the shelves and I put everything on the table so I could know what's going to go back.
Okay.
Because since I'm like, okay, this is kinder stuff, we don't need that anymore. So I was like really cleaning out their shelves and doing stuff.
So do you all recycle in the homeschool group community?
Well, we do, but since I have the daycare, and sometimes I have the kinder stuff I take to the daycare. Now barely. Mikey just got done with his first grade stuff, but I'll save it to pass on to JR. So
good.
We'll just so stuff like that. But yeah, normally and that is why I say, like, don't write in your books, because then you can always sell them back in the homeschool community.
And then who was it? Your nephew that you had helped, and then he was out for a year because he was having some issues at school, and then he went back and tested it higher?
I didn't help. My little he's my cousin. I was going to say my godson, but no, it wasn't my godson. It was my cousin. Yeah, when he was in second grade, he didn't want to go to school anymore. He was having problems, and I don't think it was so much as a bully. It was just that he was like, he was tired of school. He just
overwhelmed.
My aunt put him in since he was 3. So there was just second grade, he just couldn't. So I was like, just pull him out, and he did really good. When he was home, he gained a little bit more weight than he would have if he was at school. He's home and stuff. But he picked up, and then when he was ready, he decided, like, I'm ready to go back.
And then he scored higher when he went back.
When he went back, he was ready. They told him, like, we'll test him to see, but if he doesn't do so well, then we'll put him back. But no, he did really good. And a lot of things, like I said, reading comprehension and stuff like that, they learn better outside, because to comprehend while you're in school and everyone else looking at you and stuff, that was one of the things I really hated in school.
I suffered through that.
Yeah, read out loud. I'm like, I don't want to read out loud. I'm going to mess up. Like, let me practice a little bit before you call me. Wait, hold on.
Cute, right? Tell me what I'm supposed to read. Let me rehearse it, and then I can get back to you.
Yeah, then I could get back and stuff, because I would get so nervous and stuff, because everybody's like, people are talking, and then you feel like, okay, and then your teacher's like louder, and I'm like, oh, I'm not you. You read read.
Yeah, it is. It's a battle.
Yeah.
It is a battle. But, yeah, so even if you use the Homeschool with Lani program at home as a supplement to their current schooling program that you already are happy with, they could possibly have the higher test scores and higher reading comprehension. And when they understand more, it's more fun. It's when they don't understand that it's like such a struggle, and then it just becomes overwhelming. So I think this program is going to be like super duper uber helpful for everybody, and I'm so glad Miss Lani's going to be doing it. I love her. She's delicious. She wears a pink cape. Like, how could she not be delicious, right? And it'll be fun for the kids, and it's going to be helpful for you, and then you're going to just feel so much better that you know your child is getting that little extra time with you. That's really constructive. It's not about battling over the remote control or the tablet or whatever you battle with your child over. It'll actually be something fun. So she'll show you games, and she'll direct your older ones too to be inquisitive, ask why, do research and what they're interested in. And then everything will fall into place if everybody's having fun. Because if you're not having fun,
You're not learning.
You're not learning. You're not doing it right. So, yeah. So stay tuned on to SilverFoxStudios.com. Thank you so much for coming on to SATalkToday.com. And thank you. Super duper love you. I'm just going to take a little Ezekiel bread and sop her up. But we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Talk, everybody talking. Newsmakers, everybody rocking. It's your city, it's your voice. Talk, everybody talking. San Antonio, everybody rocking. It's your city, it's your voice. Word on the street, talk of the town, the nation, the globe, buzzing around. The word on the street, talk of the town, the nation, the globe, buzzing around. It's the word on the street, talk of the town.